informative program. If one has spare cash, would you suggest I buy gold shares rather than invest it in the bank?
Let me answer that question with a preface.
Yeah.
And that is, I believe that God warns his people in advance of coming problems or even judgment and helps them to get prepared. Yeah. There were 8 people that got on a boat because he told them that they better get ready. First time ever, but there was going to be a flood.
Yeah.
There was 7 years of plenty, but Joseph said, hey, the bad times are coming. We got to get ready. They prepared, and many people lived and survived because they prepared. And so I always hear from Christians who say, oh, if you just trusted God, just trust God. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to get prepared. I think the concept of understanding the times and preparing for difficult times is a very biblical concept. So Joseph is one of my heroes in the Bible. Okay, now, as far as gold stocks versus gold, I personally prefer the metal itself. I'll be very honest, I own gold stocks. I own silver stocks. And they have their ups and downs and so forth. The problem I have with the gold and silver stocks is they will drop with the stock market. I think the U.S. stock market is massively overpriced at 26 times earnings, and is being propped up because it's being manipulated by Wall Street, the Fed, and the U.S. Treasury through the plunge protection team. They pump billions of dollars into the stock market to hold it up. We don't think, because of what we see coming in the economy, which is a massive drop in the economy. Unemployment in America is screaming. By the way, the government says 10% unemployment. Real world numbers are over 20%. And I can prove that. All I have to do is go back and use the old ways they always calculated it in the past. I think the stock market will fall, and because of that, and other markets around the world will fall, and that will take down the gold stocks. I think because of the nature and the magnitude of the crisis that's coming, that it makes more sense to hold the physical metal, physical gold or silver, in your own possession, in a safety deposit box or someplace that is very safe and secure.
So really, that's what you're saying. You're saying buy the metal rather than the shares. If you've got money, if you need to invest it, that's what you're saying to do at this present time.
The metals have outperformed the shares over the last 9 years. The shares are tied to the financial markets, and if there is a meltdown on Wall Street or in the financial markets, the shares will melt down. I believe I understand that. I used to market gold shares with the largest gold stock money manager in the world in the 1970s. I marketed something like $400 million worth of gold shares. I understand gold shares. They're very different now than they were back in the 1970s. There's much more complexity about it, and I think gold shares are much, much more risky. There will be times when they will move faster and further, so you will have bigger percentage gains here and there along the way, but I take a pretty dim view of where things could go, and I think physical metal in your own possession is the best hedge against political turmoil, financial turmoil, economic turmoil, and so on.
Let's come down to spiritually preparing for the times, okay? We're facing this crisis. You believe it's going to come. You believe it's somewhere near, but we're not putting any dates on it, so let's be very clear about that. But how do I spiritually be prepared to face such a time that we're in? You talked about understanding the times. That's very much the sons of Issachar in the Old Testament. How do we understand the times, and how are we to be prepared, Don, for what we're about to face?
Well, 2 verses that I believe the Lord really emphasized for me in the last few years, Doug, were Matthew 6:33. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. And I think he gave me that verse. I knew the verse, but he reminded me of the verse at a time when I was way too busy in business and a whole lot of other things, and was kind of putting him, down the line somewhere. I think we've got to keep the Lord first in our lives. I think, and he gave me another verse too, which was, be still and know that I am God. Unfortunately, I move so fast all the time, and sometimes I can't hear him. Right, and so both of those verses were a message to me that, look, you got to slow down, and you got to listen to God, and you got to keep him first. when you keep him first and you're spending time with the Lord every day and you're seeking his wisdom. Does the Lord care about your financial matters? Yes, he does. Does he care about everything in your life? Yes, he does. Does he care first and foremost about your salvation? You're going to live in eternity with him because of Jesus. Yes, he does. But he cares about the other things. He cares about our children. He cares about our jobs. He cares about our safety, and he cares about our finances. Why aren't we seeking him? Why aren't we seeking him? And I believe if we were seeking him every day, that he would give us wisdom and guidance. And I'm too stupid to walk through this minefield without having his guidance every day. And I think, unfortunately, most of us are at least challenged because we don't have a lot of information to go on. But, you know, God can lead us step by step by step. And I believe that's the first and foremost thing in financial planning. Now, he's given us some guidelines. He's told us avoid debt. Come on, we're all drowning in debt. In at least America, maybe you're not over here, but we are. We're drowning in debt. And so we should be reducing our debts.
How do we do that, Don? Somebody listening to you saying, I know I've got debt. I know that's a problem. How do I start dealing with it, though?
Number one, you stop taking on new debt. That means you probably cut up your credit cards. Okay, you cut up your credit cards. That's step number one. If there's a way you can reduce your debt, even if you have to sell off certain things you have in your life, even if you have to downsize. I know people who have sold their homes and moved to smaller homes. I know it's hard to do in a real estate recession right now, but wherever you can sell something off or downsize. All of us live too well. You know, in America, Americans could cut their standard of living 50% and they'd still be living high on the hog. Okay, we know how to live well, but you know, now we need to learn how to tighten our belts and tighten things down. We need to learn how to budget. And I know for some people, getting out of debt is not easy because they don't have anything they can sell. Take on no new debt. Reduce your debt where you can. Seek God's wisdom. Where you have liquid assets, yes, I do think gold and silver makes sense. All you have to do is look at the last 8 or 9 years and see why they were doing that. They will continue doing that, we think. I think you need to watch your bank. Now, I can't say in America but I can say in America there's 2,036 banks that are in trouble. The government officially says 532. Well, forget that. There's about 4 times that many. And so we tell our people, monitor your bank, monitor your financial institutions, find out what their financial condition is. And there are certain reporting services that we can use in America that we can determine that. I think that's very, very important. I believe the stock markets of the world are very, very vulnerable, and people who have a lot of money tied up in the stock markets could be in for a major fall. I know they've rallied here and in a lot of places in the last 6 to 12 months, but we don't think that's a for real deal. We think it's a bear market rally. So I would be out of most stock markets in the world. It's a time to be very, very conservative. And it's not easy in this day and age. And I wouldn't have all my funds in one currency. I wouldn't have them all in the U.S. dollar, which I think is going to be in trouble. I wouldn't have them all in the British pound either. So you would diversify within currencies. I think some gold and silver makes some sense. Liquidity makes sense. Reduce your debt as much as you can. You know, they say for real estate, location. Well, in tough times, liquidity. Except don't go out and sell your gold jewelry. That's a mistake. I think that's a big mistake.
And I mean, surely as well as Christians, one of the biggest things is to see that through all of this, whatever's happening, God is still on his throne. I mean, absolutely. None of this has taken him by surprise. I think sometimes we pick up and we see what's happening in the newspaper and think, well, God, where were you? But he was there, and he's not taken by surprise, is he?
No, he's not. And we are not captive of the mistakes of men, whether it's our financial leaders, our political leaders, or whatever. Can God protect his own? Can he look after his own people? Absolutely. Absolutely. If we are seeking him, if we are truly seeking him every day, can he look after us? Yeah. May we go through some tough times? Yes, we may. You know, I don't think tough times are all bad. Sometimes it's like getting really sick. I mean, you slough off a lot of junk and get it out of your body that you need to get rid of. And tough times tend to get rid of excesses. And so if we go through some tough times and some painful times, maybe that'll be good for us. And you know, I wrote a book a few years ago on the coming persecution of Christians in America. Now, boy, that was not a bestseller.
That went to the top of the charts.
Christians don't want to hear about that. But you know what? I think we could all learn a lesson from the tough times that the Chinese church goes through. 100 million people living under hard times.
Music comes, Don. We have to go. Sorry about that. We could carry on talking tonight. Maybe we could talk later. Want the newsletter? Contact us. We'll make sure you get it. Be blessed. Trust God in all that you do. Bye for now.